What you guys know about Bratz? In the early 2000s, Bratz was a doll line, and it was my personal favorite doll line. And specifically, I loved the Bratz Babies doll line and the Bratz Kidz doll line because for me at the time, they were more relatable. I loved four movies of theirs. I loved the Bratz Babies Superhero Adventure, Bratz Kidz Fairy Tale Adventure, and Bratz Kidz Sleepover Adventure. Today we're going to be talking about Bratz Kidz Sleepover Adventure, but all four of these movies really do deserve a video of their own, especially Bratz Super Babies, because it is the movie of all time. It was the scariest movie at the time when I watched it. It was so scary. Like, I wouldn't watch Monster House, but I would watch this. I think I watched Coraline one time. I love Coraline now, but I think I was super scared of everything. I was a scary kid. And honestly, I still am. Like, have you seen the My Little Pony infection I use? That's some scary stuff. We open with the main four: Sasha, Chloe, Yasmin, and Jade, and then a fifth additional character that I do not remember being in this movie, which makes me feel like a fake fan. They're walking down the street, and this strange man is also following them with a red wagon, and the music lyrics are, "Things are getting weird." Or, there's a strange man following y'all with a wagon. Also mention that strange things happen on a full moon, which is super important for later. They get to the house that they're going to, which is 1313 Raven Drive. Honestly, why not just call it 666 Welcome to Hell Avenue? The strange man also happens to be Sasha's dad, but he takes the red wagon with him, and it's still full of stuff. So, what was the point of him coming along? Also, so Sasha mentions that the reason they're there is she met a girl outside of an abandoned movie theater that's been closed down for years. Met one time, and she was like, all right, I'm taking all of my friends to your house and we're gonna have a sleepover. This goes without saying, but don't have a sleepover at someone you've just met's house, especially if they live on 1313 Raven Drive. On the door, and this girl's dad answers the door, as well as the girl herself. She has red hair and her name is Ginger. I'm sure they put a lot of work and thought into that name. I'm so glad my parents didn't name me Brunette. The mom also comes to the door, but her facial movements are a lot. The animation is something else, especially their hair. Their hair is definitely, they're akin to like how it would be underwater, but not actually underwater. More like the bad CGI in Aquaman. The fifth member of the Bratz was named Megan, and Google says she's also called Funky Fashion Monkey. I do not remember this character whatsoever, and I feel like such a fake fan for not remembering her. Also, poor Ginger. She's kind of clueless, and she's just clueless about everything, and she was definitely homeschooled. Because she's so clueless and lost, they're like, don't worry about it, we'll teach you what it is to like have a sleepover. And so they do it. They have a little montage, and it's cute, but then they start dancing, and Sasha tries to do the worm. It's not the worm. It's like she like starts doing the sprinkler or something. It's like, that's not the worm. And then Megan does the funky fashion monkey. And Ginger looks petrified. I understand, Megan. I'm afraid of apes too. And then Megan's mom is a buzzkill, and she's like, all right, it's time to go to bed. And then all the girls pretend to go to bed, but then I like pop back up with these little funky flashlights, and they're like, no, we can't go to bed yet. Sleepovers aren't for sleeping. We have to tell some scary stories. And Ginger is not about this life. She's like, no, my mom said we have to go to bed. It's time for bed. But they're kind of bullies in a sense. They're kind of like, no. Like, I feel for this girl. Like, I feel like I was in this situation at least once or twice. Like, they're kind of like just like telling her what to do. Poor little homeschooled girl. We're gonna teach you. We're gonna teach you up. So Sasha is the first one to tell a scary story, and it starts at a carnival, specifically in a mirror maze. Not really a maze, more like the mirrors that kind of like go up and down. They're having fun. Megan's there, and I think Jade was there, and they were just kind of, Sasha's kind of being full of herself, and she's like, I can't help it. The mirror loves me. The mirror loves what it's looking at. And the other girls kind of get fed up, and they leave. And so Sasha finds a room with just one mirror in it, and this mirror isn't like the rest. It has, at the top, it has doppelganger on it. I think you know where this is going. So she does a couple of things. She looks at herself, and then eventually she kind of realizes that the mirror and herself aren't quite matching up. And when she realizes that, the mirror version of herself kind of grabs her shoulders and doesn't pull her in yet. She just kind of shakes her and then throws her off to the side. Doppelganger runs off, and then Sasha runs after her. And at first it looks like they're gonna fight. It's kind of like there's this moment where it's kind of like a Western standoff, but then the doppelganger goes boo, and all of Sasha's confidence goes away because she runs off. And the doppelganger really isn't doing anything, but she's terrified. Which, I mean, if I saw a clone of myself, I think I wouldn't notice, honestly. Even if it did shake me and throw it aside, I'd be like, is that me? Is it? I don't know. But anyway, the doppelganger continues to scare her until finally she chases her back into the doppelganger mirror. And they're in this room, and it's just Sasha, and the mirrors start to collect around her until finally they're laughing, and it's a little bit spooky, actually. It's a little bit unnerving. And then one of the mirror doppelgangers pulls her in, and now she's trapped in the mirror, and the other one is going to go live her life, and then it just ends. Like, I realize they're telling scary stories, so it doesn't have to have a happy ending, but it is kind of unnerving, the fact that almost none of these have a happy resolution. Now it's Chloe's turn, and Chloe's looking at some puppies, and she's like, I really want a puppy. And they're so cute. I really want a puppy. And Chloe's mom is like, they're cute now, but wait until. And she doesn't finish her sentence. Wait until what? Are they not cute when they get older? I beg to differ. They're cuter then, because then they're not jumping on the counter and causing chaos every 5 seconds. Also, these puppies are ugly. That dog is not cute. So they decide that if Chloe can handle the responsibility of taking care of a neighbor's dog for 3 days, then she can have a puppy of her own. So Chloe's like, yeah, of course. And she goes to the neighbor's house, and she knocks on the door, and a strange male voice answers the door, and clearly imitating a woman. And it's like, come in, give me a steak, come in. And she's trying to open the door, and she's like, I can't, it's stuck. And then an ominous figure shows up behind her, and she turns around, and it's the neighbor in question. And the neighbor's like, kind of weird about who was talking on the other side. She was like, oh, it's just my parrot. Okay, lady. And so anyway, she gives her the dog, and she kind of feels bad for the dog because the dog has a muzzle on. And the lady was like, he doesn't bite, but it's better for everybody if he has the muzzle on. And I want to know what this lady's plan was, because obviously the muzzle has to come off at some point, even if it's just for the dog to eat. But anyway, so Chloe feels bad and takes off the muzzle, and it immediately starts talking and starts to complain.
I don't believe that woman goes to France and dumps you with some brat. The nerve. Call this a life? 10 years old and I ain't never been to Paris.
Also, I forgot to mention the dog's name is Taco, and he's a Chihuahua. I'm really avoiding stereotypes here. So Chloe's excited because, oh my god, a talking dog. And she tries to show her mom, and the dog is like, I'm not about to talk in front of your mom. I'm gonna be living in a lab for the rest of my life. But, which I mean is fair. But then he immediately like runs off, and the dad finds him, and he's like, Chloe, you're already failing your responsibilities. And so Chloe's upset with the dog. She's like, you are it leads to this infamous audio.
You are ruining my chances of getting a puppy!
That is correct, shorty. 2 legs.
The scariest part about the story is how awful this dog is, because eventually she comes back to her room and the dog is ordering takeout, and it's like $65 because he's like, I like to tip generously. And this poor little girl has to use all of her tip money. Or not all of her tip money, all of her savings. And it's like, you don't have to do that. You could just pretend you don't know where the Chinese food is coming from and who did that. But she's a little girl, so I give her some time. While he's ordering Chinese food, he specifies no bones. I guess they're trying to avoid dog stereotypes while also naming the Chihuahua Taco. In an attempt to take control of her life, Chloe gives Taco a bath and gives him some like girly clothes as a form of torture. And he's like, fine, I concede. And he goes home and she gets a puppy. And all is well. Or is it? Because a steak pizza shows up at the door and the dog winks. Hi, I'm back. I took a break from last night and now I'm on my bed. Anyway, it's Funky Fashion Monkey's turn to tell her story, and it also takes place at a carnival. And she's in line waiting for pie. She's really excited about this pie. And her sister and her sister's friend come up and they're like, no, you can't have any pie. We don't want to wait in line for pie. And then she's like, okay, well, can we wait in line for the log flume? And her sister and her friend are like, no. Let's go on this other ride where you spin around a bunch. And a person throws up on Megan. And obviously she's upset. And not only is she upset, she has to wear an orange shirt that's too big for her with a clown on it. And then her sister and her friend make fun of her for it. In this story, Megan's getting totally screwed over here. But they're acting like she's being a brat about it. No, she's not being a brat about it. She's actually being completely reasonable. And so she tries to get some pie again, and she cuts in line, and she's like, please give me the pie. But a clown takes it from her, and it's the last piece of pie. And she has a Home Alone moment, and she's like, I hate you. I wish everybody would disappear. So after her Home Alone moment, her friends are like, we can get you some ice cream. That's all right. We'll get you some ice cream. And as she's trying to eat her ice cream, the clown comes back and knocks her over and is like, well, look what you did, kid. Look what you did, you little jerk. So it really is just Home Alone, but scary. So some might say that she's being a bit of a brat, but nah, if all of this happened to me, like coinciding, I would be kind of unfavorable as well. Of course she's upset, and her sister and sister's friend are like, well, let's go see the magician. And she's not about it. They're like having to drag her into the magician's show, and they get a front seat ticket. And the magician assistant is like, you gotta call to him, you gotta make him come. And she's like, ugh, so I don't want to do that. And eventually the Senor appears, and I think it's like Senor Magic or something. And Senor Magic doesn't even ask who wants to participate. He's just like, thank you for volunteering. And he drags her on the stage and puts her in a box. And he's like, whenever it opens again, you'll be gone. And she's like, I wish everybody else was gone. And what happens? She gets her Home Alone moment. Because everybody just disappeared. First order of business, she's going to get some pie. She eats like 18 pieces of pie on her own, and then immediately goes on the log flume, which starts by itself. And at first she's excited. She's like, wee! But then she can't get off. It just keeps going, and it happens over and over and over until finally she just jumps out. I'm not sure how she, like, the ride didn't stop. It keeps going. I don't know why she didn't do this sooner. She's like, oh, I'm ready to go back now. And the clown paraphernalia starts to laugh at her. She's being mocked by clowns. And they're just kind of laughing at her. They're not doing anything sinister, but they are laughing at her. A lot of these characters just laugh instead of, I guess laughing is the alternative to murder here. So Megan, she tried to stand up for herself, but the clown starts laughing again. Anyway, she runs back to the magician box and she's like, please, please bring me back. And she opens it and she's still in the no world, the nobody's there world. So she grabs the magician stick and she goes in and she's like, please, 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 please. And when she opens it, everybody's back. And the magician's like, you can keep that as a token. And she's like, no. And she's really excited to see her sister again. So the moral of this story is let people treat you terribly because you never know when you're going to be in a alternative reality just by yourself and you have to eat 18 pieces of pie. Now it's Yasmin's turn for her story, and it starts with her and her mother in a car, and she's like, I need this charm bracelet. Chloe has one, Sasha has one, even Jade has one. Is Jade not allowed to have one? Why is it so shocking that Jade has a charm bracelet? Anyway, Yaz's mom says no because it's too extravagant for a girl her age. Which, I mean, if it's super expensive, that makes sense. But they get to the mall, and she's like, you have to go get a birthday present for your friend. I think her name was Dana. And she gives her a crisp $5 bill. And what does she do with this $5 bill? She goes get the bracelet. Extravagant. It's $5. And then she opens her hand, and she has a couple, I think it's quarters. So it's actually, she has four 5 quarters, so it was actually just $4. But no, it's too extravagant. If you want to teach her the value of $1, that's fine, but just make her work for it. For $4, this upsets me. I don't know why it upsets me, but it aggravates me so much. Her mother is causing an uproar for $4. She's like, oh no, I don't have enough money for my friend now. I only have $1. So she goes and she gets her friend a gift, and it snaps to the birthday party. And she's kind of like, okay, here's a gift. And the girl's like, oh, is this for me? Oh, you have one of those cool charm bracelets. And she opens the gift, and it's also she says that, oh, is this gift from you? Well, I would think so, Dana. She handed it to you. But anyway, she gets her a vase, and Dana's really happy about the vase. We skip the party, and we go back to school, and she's like, Yasmin is like, Megan, notice anything different? Yeah, your skirt doesn't match your top. That's what I noticed. But they're kind of dismissive about it, because they're like, it's kind of, the charm bracelet's kind of out of style now. It's all about these new jeans. So they flip back to the car, and her mom's like, you need jeans now? You need an article of clothing that actually is kind of needed and necessary? No. It's like, oh, what was it? You wanted that expensive charm bracelet last week. Expensive? It was $4. $4! The bracelet's out of style. She takes it off. She puts it in her jewelry box. And then later she finds it in her backpack. And then she puts it away in her book, in her locker, and boom, it appears in her lunchbox. And she does it again, and so now she's riding her bike with her friends, and she finds it again. And Megan, who's like 12 and on a moped, is like, you need to put that back on. It's not cheap. It was $4. Why are they gaslighting these children? So Yaz gets fed up. She leaves her friends, and she goes to a local river, and she throws the bracelet into the river. And when she gets home, she's about to go bake with her mom, and the bracelet reappears on her wrist. And that's Yaz's last straw, because she runs to her room and she's in hysterics. She's like, I don't know what to do. And her mom comes in and she's like, Dana's really upset too. I don't understand what's up with you girls. You're all both really upset. And Yaz is like, why is Dana upset? She's like, she broke the vase. Her cat broke the vase. And she was like, oh. So she goes to Dana's house and she gives the bracelet back, and all is well. In the end, it's kind of sweet. It's like, oh, it's better to give than to receive. And also $4 is extremely expensive. It's Jade's turn to tell a story, but I think that they messed up and made Jade's voice come out of Chloe's mouth.
You don't know what a scary story is, but you will when you've heard mine.
This is the story that scared me a lot as a child. I don't know what it was, but I was super petrified of this one. All of the other ones weren't super scary. I mean, I think one of the amusement park ones kind of freaked me out a little bit, but this one I think about to this very day. So once again, amusement park, and they're in line to go to a ride, and Jade's like, this ride isn't scary. And they're like, have you ever even been on this ride? And she's like, no, but I don't need to. I don't get scared easily. Girls say, oh, there was a boy on this ride once, and he was talking all that smack, and he didn't come out. The guy that works there comes up, and I'm just gonna show you the scene, because his voice and then everything that happens is quite funny.
Really believe that ridiculous story.
No, it's true. The boy was scared, but he was too embarrassed to admit it, so he kept saying things and...
What kind of things?
Things like you've been saying.
No!
Yes!
Why is there such a long pause? They go on the ride, and the girls are upset with Jade because they're like, you hurt that guy's feelings. Yeah, she's being obnoxious, but I don't think that he's upset that she's not afraid of the ride. So they're going on the ride, and it's like super long and detailed for an amusement park ride, but there's also, she's going fake, so last season. And then they come up to this pink creature, and she's like, fake? It doesn't matter if it's fake. What is that supposed to be? But they get to this, like, dinosaur mouth, and they stop in between it, and Chloe's eyes start glowing. And Jade's concerned. She drops, actually, like, Chloe, are you okay? And Chloe doesn't answer her, and they keep going. And it gets dark. And Jade's like, Chloe, why aren't you answering me? Do you need me to hold your hand? And when she goes to hold Chloe's hand, it is not human anymore. They've turned into those freaks. What are they? Why am I so scared right now? She manages to get her seatbelt off, but the one that Chloe turned into grabs her by the shirt and just kind of dangles her there and is laughing at her. Again, with the maniacal laughter, like I said, I think it's a replacement for, murder for child Moida. But she manages to jump off onto a giant swinging blade. What kind of ride is this supposed to be? But anyway, she jumps off of the blade and runs down this corridor, and there are 4 more, and they're like green, kind of lizardy swamp creatures. They look the same, they're just a different color, and there's 4 of them. These ones don't return, but they try to grab her, and she keeps running, and they have like a Scooby-Doo moment, and eventually they corner her. So naturally, she does what anyone is going to do when they're about to be murdered by their friends that turned into monsters. She starts dancing, and then they start dancing, and everyone's dancing. And she manages to get away. But anyway, it turns out it was all a dream, and she's afraid, she's crying, and everything's turned back to normal. And because she'd put on this big bad facade before, her friends are making fun of her. And they're like, let's go on this ride. It'll be a little bit better for you. And Chloe tucks her tail back into her jeans. So was this not fake? Is she gonna get eaten later? Now that story's over, and all poor Ginger wants to do is go to bed. But they're kind of bullying her again, and they're like, no, you have to tell a scary story. And if you tell a scary story that scares all of us, then we'll go to bed. And Ginger gets scared of her own story, and she gets so upset that she runs off. And then they're like, oh, we were being brats. So They eventually get up and they're like, all right, let's go after her. And one of them tries to turn on the light, and the light's not working. So they use their flashlights and they're going through it, and something is strangely different about the house. They try to go into Ginger's parents' room, and it's not right. There's dust everywhere, it's dilapidated, and it's not quite right. And eventually they get scared and they run off. They run out of the house because something's wrong. And it has a no trespassing sign, and everything's all wrong. It's old, it's dilapidated, it's disgusting. Girls are terrified, and they run, and they start to see memoirs of their scary stories. They see the dog, they see Sasha's doppelganger, and so they're like, I think it was Megan who said it first. Megan is like, we can all go to my house. And who opens the door other than the Wispings? Ginger and her father are standing there, and they're like, ah! And they run off. They try Chloe's, and they're there again. And then they try Sasha's house last, and they're there again. But this time, Ginger and her parents are so scared that they pass out. And the girls are like, well, that was weird. And when they turn back around, they're all of the monsters from Jade's story, but they're not acknowledging it. Also, they fight over a fly that was in one of their teeth, which is disgusting. And they're like, all right, let's go into the sewer. Let's go sleep in the sewer for tonight. It's dark and muggy. But then it's over. That's it. So 5 little girls have turned into monsters, and I'm just supposed to accept this. What? There's a lot going on in this movie. And the ending is so strange. Like, maybe it was Ginger's story, and she just decided to incorporate everyone's, but they don't show that. That's my only guess as to what's happening here. It's very confusing, and I'm distressed. I'm distraught about this. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I stream on Twitch now. Right now, I'm only doing Minecraft, but I have a visual novel that I really want to stream. Anyway, thank you. Bye.